Hello guys and welcome to this lecture. So we are on our course of IIT JAM 2021 and today's lecture topic is also from our subject linear algebra. So we'll be doing linear algebra first, and then after completing linear algebra we'll be going to the next section. So in this you can see the lecture plan I've given today. We are going to discuss basically special matrices, and in fact I've taken the previous year questions, and there actually I found around 5 previous year questions in the last few years, and questions I'm discussing is until 2019 jam, and 2020 jam questions are already available on my channel. You can visit the channel to get the solutions. Okay, so let's go on to the lecture. So the first kind of matrix what we're going to see is symmetric matrices, and you know the property of symmetric matrices, right? What is the property? If you have a matrix A, we call it a symmetric matrix if A is equal to its transpose. So if you have such kind of matrices, we call the matrices as symmetric matrices. So this is actually an example for a symmetric matrix. You can see if you take the transpose of the matrix, you will get the same matrix, isn't it? So this is a simple example for an symmetric matrix. So what are the things we must know in case of symmetric matrices is what I'm going to list out here. That is, I'm going to give you some properties which may help us to solve many problems. In fact, in a bit better, in a more better way, or more faster way. So we'll list out the properties one by one. So the first property what we have is if you like, let us take like A and B are two matrices, okay, from M and R. Then the properties which we can discuss are like if A and B are symmetric, also A and B are symmetric matrices. Then what are the different properties we can tell? Then we can tell that A plus B is symmetric, then A minus B is symmetric, some constant times matrix A is symmetric, then AB plus BA, this matrix is also symmetric. Okay, the second important property in connection with symmetric matrices I can think is this one, that is if AB is symmetric, AB is symmetric if and only if AB is equal to A. That means if AB is equal to AB is equal to BA. So if AB is equal to BA, then we can say that AB is symmetric, and if AB is symmetric, this property will hold. So it's actually necessary and sufficient condition. So that is another result which we must keep in mind regarding symmetric matrices. The next result is basically if A is a symmetric matrix and if A is invertible, then what we can tell, if A is symmetric matrix and A is invertible, then implies A inverse is also symmetric. So this is another important property. So these properties you can keep in mind. We are just trying to refresh all the properties so that when we solve our problems we'll be able to do it in a much faster way. The next property, what is the next property? Next property is that if you take a square matrix A, for any square matrix A, we can derive few things, that is uh, A plus A transpose is symmetric. This may be some properties which you already know, but I'll just refresh all those things. Then A into A transpose, if you take, or you take A transpose into A, all these are symmetric. Okay, all these are symmetric. Then yeah, if you want to have a small concept with respect to determinant of a matrix, so that is if you see these matrices over here, I've given a ready-made formula for this determinant. All these are basically two different types of symmetric matrices. So this is also few ideas which you can keep in mind when you prepare. So next we'll move on to the skew symmetric matrices. So the next type of matrices we are going to see is skew symmetric matrices. Okay, so we'll see some properties of that. So what do you mean by a skew symmetric matrix? We can say a matrix A belongs to M and R is basically an skew symmetric matrix if A is equal to, or you can say like A is equal to, or A transpose equal to minus A, or A is equal to minus A transpose, whatever you can do, whatever you can write, no issues. Now regarding some properties, for example, if you take A and B, both are symmetric matrices, okay, sorry, not symmetric matrices, skew symmetric matrices. If they are skew symmetric matrices, then A plus B matrix, A plus B, the matrix A minus B, or if you take a constant multiple of A or B, and AB minus BA matrix, all these matrices are skew symmetric matrices. So so this is another property regarding skew symmetric matrices. Then the next property, which all of you know, that if A, for any square matrix, A, we have A minus A transpose. A minus A transpose is skew symmetric. So this is in connection with skew symmetric matrices. You can think of this particular result. Another observation which you might have made already, that the diagonal entries. What are the diagonal entries of skew symmetric matrices? The diagonal entries of skew symmetric matrices are basically zeros. Skew symmetric matrices are zeros. Okay. Then another two results regarding the determinant of skew symmetric matrices. If A is basically an odd order skew symmetric matrix, then if A is basically an odd order skew symmetric matrix, then determinant of A will be always equal to 0, and if A is an even order skew symmetric matrix, then determinant of A will be always non-negative. Okay, it will basically a non-negative value. Also, if A is actually determinant, so A is an matrix of even order skew symmetric matrix with integer entries. So A is basically an even order matrix and it has integer entries. Then one thing we can tell about the determinant of this matrix is like determinant of that particular A will be actually a perfect square. So this is another result in connection with skew symmetric matrices. Then another one result you have already learned in your school is connecting skew symmetric and symmetric matrices, that if any square matrix A, if you take, you can represent, or you can uniquely represent them as in terms of sum of symmetric and skew symmetric matrices, right? That means you can write A as A plus A transpose by 2 plus A minus A transpose by 2, and this is basically a symmetric part and this is actually a skew symmetric part. So this is basically, you have already seen that A plus A transpose is symmetric, and K times that matrix, K is actually 1 by 2. So that is again symmetric. Here also same way, A minus A transpose is skew symmetric, and here the constant multiple of a skew symmetric matrix is also a skew symmetric matrix. So you get half times A minus A transpose. So again you get a skew symmetric matrix. You can express basically any matrix, any square matrix, is uniquely as a sum of a symmetric and a skew symmetric matrix. So that can be done. Now our next kind of matrices under consideration is what we call as Hermitian matrices. Hermitian yeah, so the next kind of matrices under consideration is basically Hermitian matrices. So what are Hermitian matrices? Hermitian matrices, we can say matrix A from Mn of C, here I've taken my field as complex numbers. C is nothing but it represents set of complex numbers. So A is Hermitian if what? A is equal to A transpose whole conjugate or A conjugate whole transpose, both are same. That is, you just find the transpose and you're taking the conjugate of complex conjugate of every entry in the matrix, or you take the complex conjugate of every entry in the matrix and just take the transpose. Both are same, right? So there is nothing big theory behind it. So straight away simple result. So this is what you mean by an Hermitian matrix. So some properties what we can recall about Hermitian matrix are that like the real symmetric matrices, if you take, you know what are symmetric matrices, and if you take real symmetric matrices, they are basically Hermitian matrices, right? If you just take your matrices, the C you take as R, then you know A conjugate is nothing but equal to A, right? Because all are real numbers, and if you take the complex conjugates of real numbers, obviously you're going to get real numbers. So it simply becomes A equal to A transpose. That means we get that it's basically a real symmetric. What we get is real symmetric matrices are Hermitian matrices. Next concept, next result which we can use here is the next properties is actually that if you take the diagonal entries. See, all these properties we are just deriving from this definition. The diagonal entries of an Hermitian matrix. If you take the diagonal entries of an Hermitian matrix, can you tell what is the peculiarity about those? They will basically are real entries, because we have basically the thing like A is equal to A transpose conjugate. So we must get if you take the diagonal entries, when you take transpose, they are not changing, right? They are in fact the same. And when you see that Aij, if you represent A as some form like Aij, I represents the row and J represents the column, we have something like Aij should be equal to Aij conjugate. So we are getting something like a complex number for which um, it is equal to its own conjugate, something like Z is equal to Z bar, right? So it's basically a real number. So this what we get is the diagonal entries of Hermitian matrices are real. Then another property also just because the diagonal entries are real, we can say that traces of this Hermitian matrices will be actually real, right? If A is Hermitian matrix, then trace of A is basically real, and trace is nothing but sum of the diagonal entries in a metrical matrix. So if you take a particular matrix, you just add the diagonal entries there. That is what gives you the trace. And another thing is basically regarding the determinant. If you take the determinant of a Hermitian matrix also, it will be basically a real value. So this is 2-3 properties regarding Hermitian matrices, and all the results which are true for real symmetric matrices are also true for Hermitian matrices. All the results which are true for real symmetric matrices are true for Hermitian matrices also. Okay, so this you must keep in mind when you do your studies. So the next kind of matrices are skew symmetric matrices, and what kind of matrices are known as skew symmetric matrices we'll see. So if you take a matrix from M and C, then we say A is skew symmetric if A is equal to what? It's simply a negative symbol apart from the last what we have seen. It is actually minus A transpose whole conjugate or minus A conjugate transpose. Then we say that a matrix is skew Hermitian. Then regarding some properties we must keep in mind is that all real skew symmetric matrices skew symmetric matrices or skew Hermitian matrices or skew Hermitian matrices. Okay, then next property that is nothing but all the, just similar to our skew symmetric matrix, all diagonal entries. What are the diagonal entries? The diagonal entries will be basically either they will be all 0 or they will be actually purely imaginary. So these are the two cases we can have when you have an skew Hermitian matrix. And then one result I would like to mention in connection with this concept is, if A belongs to M and C is skew Hermitian, A belongs to M and C is skew Hermitian if and only if IA, the matrix IA is Hermitian. So this also we can in fact keep in mind in connection with our skew Hermitian matrices. IA means I is iota, I times a matrix, multiple of matrix A. So another thing is that I would like to tell is just like what we have told before, all the results those are true, all the results that are true for real skew Hermitian matrices are also true for skew Hermitian matrices. Sorry, all the results which are true for real skew symmetric matrices, they are true for matrices are true for skew Hermitian matrices also. Okay, so this also you must keep in mind. So when you study, you can have a comparative study like symmetric, then the one associated with that is Hermitian, and when you study skew symmetric, the one associated with that is skew Hermitian, and they have kind of similar properties. So when you make a study there, you should try to study in that particular manner so that it's easy for you to remember also. Okay, another special matrix which you must discuss is actually orthogonal matrices. These are very in fact important matrices under discussion. So we can say a matrix is A belongs to M and R is orthogonal if, what is the definition? A times A transpose should be equal to A transpose times A should be equal to the identity matrix I. This is the definition for an orthogonal matrix, or you can write something like A transpose equal to A inverse or something like that. So all these things you can use to define orthogonal matrices. So some properties we can go is basically directly, if you see here, we can derive something like determinant of A into A transpose is equal to determinant of I, because I comes here, and determinant of I is basically 1. So this is again you can split as determinant of A into determinant of A transpose, and determinant of A transpose is already determinant of A, so you get determinant of A into determinant of A equal to 1, or determinant of A whole square is equal to 1, or you get determinant of A is plus or minus 1. This is one of important property which we'll be using in our problems. Next property is basically just from the definition what I have told, A inverse is actually equal to the A transpose, or A transpose is actually equal to its A inverse. So A is orthogonal and this property holds. Another one is if you take two matrices A and B, and if they are orthogonal, then you can say like A inverse is orthogonal, A transpose is orthogonal, A power n is orthogonal for some integer n, positive integer n, then AB is also orthogonal. So all these matrices are basically orthogonal if A and B are orthogonal matrices. Also one thing we must keep in mind is that K times A, that is some constant multiple of A, and A plus B need not be orthogonal. So this also you must keep in mind. It is not necessary that k times a and a plus b are orthogonal matrices. And another very important thing we must know about a 2 by 2 regarding an 2 by 2 orthogonal matrix, that is the general form for an orthogonal matrix is basically of this form: cos theta sin theta minus sin theta and cos theta, okay, where theta belongs to close 0 open 2 pi. So if you vary the values in between 0 to 2 pi, here we can generate number of orthogonal matrices. If you substitute a particular theta value, you get one orthogonal matrix and so on. So here one more thing you can use is actually the De Moivre's formula, that is, if you take this is as your a, then if you take a power n, it is nothing but equal to this matrix. So this also we can keep in mind. You might have already seen these things. If a is a matrix of this form, then a power n is basically just, it's coming, like you can see, simply cos n theta sin n theta minus sin theta and cos n theta. So this is in fact a very important matrix under discussion when you study for linear algebra section in IIT JAM. Okay, so another important property about our orthogonal matrices are there nothing but if you take an orthogonal matrix, that is, if you take orthogonal matrix, if A is orthogonal, then if you take the rows of an orthogonal matrix, rows of an orthogonal matrix are basically orthonormal. Okay, and similarly columns are also orthonormal. Same way columns are also orthonormal. What do you mean by orthonormal? Is nothing but if you take that particular row or column, and if you try to consider that particular row or column as a vector, okay, then its distance from the origin, sometimes we call this norm in mathematics, right? So that is actually equal to 1. And if you take any two particular rows or columns, and if you take the dot product of those two rows or columns, then we can say that that will be equal to 0. Then something like they are perpendicular vectors. Okay, so perpendicular vectors, mutually perpendicular vectors with distance from the origin as 1. Such kind of rows or columns will form basically a orthogonal matrix. So if you can see 1 by root 2, 1 by root 2 minus 1 by root 2, if I take, you can see if I take this particular row, I can think of this as basically a vector 1 by root 2 I plus 1 by root 2 j, right? I can think like that. This I can use as 1 by root 2 I plus minus 1 by root 2 j. I can consider like that. So this is what I meant. I will consider a particular row as a vector. So this vector, then if you take this vector as u and this vector as v, if you take two vectors here, you can see if you take the dot product between them, what do you get? U dot v. If you take u dot v, you will get 1 by root 2 into 1 by root 2 is 1 by 2 plus 1 by root 2 into minus 1 by 2 is minus 1 by 2. So you get 0. So they are actually basically perpendicular vectors. So you can do this when you take column wise also. You take column wise two vectors, almost you get the same vectors, and again you take u dot v, your v dot u, you get actually equal to 0. That means the dot product is 0. And if you take the distance of u from the origin, what is the distance of u from the origin? If you take this vector, if you take 1 by root 2, 1 by root 2, this distance is basically 1 by root 2 minus 0 whole square plus 1 by root 2 minus 0 whole square root of that, right? So what you get? You will get basically equal to 1, right? Yes. So that's what I meant by orthonormal vectors. So these are basically two orthonormal vectors or orthonormal rows, basically you can tell. Okay, so this is actually a very interesting kind of matrices known as orthogonal matrices, which come into study. So the next kind of matrices which we are going to see is unitary matrices. So unitary matrices, I know this part of the lecture is a bit slow because we are kind of refreshing many things which we have learned in the previous school level or so all those things, so it may be a bit slow. So what are basically unitary matrices? So unitary matrices are something like, we can say a matrix A from M and C to be a unitary matrix if A into A star is equal to A star into A is equal to I. I'll just denote my A transpose whole conjugate just A star. Okay, sometimes we call adjoint of the matrix. So if A into A star is equal to A star into A is equal to I, then we say the matrix is unitary. It is something like you can think like it is something similar to our orthogonal matrix, right? We have like A into A transpose equal to A transpose into A equal to I. So what we have is nothing but as a property we can tell is that real orthogonal matrices, if you take real orthogonal matrices, are basically unitary matrices or unitary matrices. And another thing is that the results that are true for real orthogonal matrices are also true for unitary matrices. Another kind of matrices we must discuss is basically normal matrices. And for this matrices, how we can define is A belongs to M and C is said to be normal if A into A star is equal to A star into A or adjoint of A. Then some things to keep in mind are something like all the real symmetric matrices, real skew symmetric matrices, then and real orthogonal matrices, and real orthogonal matrices. All these matrices are normal matrices. Okay, then regarding Hermitian, skew Hermitian unitary matrices are also normal matrices. Okay, next important kind of matrices which we have discussed is nilpotent matrices. What are these nilpotent matrices? Nilpotent matrices are something like a matrix A from M and C we can call as a nilpotent matrix if A power k is equal to 0 for all k less than equal to n. Okay, I'm sorry, A power k is equal to 0 for some, not for all actually, for some k less than equal to n with k belongs to a set of natural numbers, and all other values, that is a power 1, a power 2, a power etc., a power k minus 1, all these should be non-zero. Okay, non-zero matrices. Then we can say that A is actually an nilpotent matrix of index k. A is actually a nilpotent matrix of index k. A nilpotent matrix of index k. Okay, so this is kind of matrices are, this is a definition basically for nilpotent matrices. Now another some small properties regarding nilpotent matrices. If A is nilpotent, then the determinant of that matrix will be always be equal to 0. Another one property is that if A is nilpotent, then we can say that the matrix I minus A is invertible. Okay, So these things we can have in our mind. And one more kind of matrices which we must discuss is involutory matrices. Okay, involutory matrices. What is involutory matrix? Involutory matrix is nothing but the matrices for which, yeah, that is, if we take a matrix from MNC, we can say A is an involutory matrix if A square is equal to I. I is identity matrix, or we can say A inverse is equal to A. And also the one important thing we must keep in mind is, which we can directly derive here, is determinant of this A will be equal to plus or minus 1. Right, from this property you can derive, just like we did in the case of orthogonal matrices. Okay, and one more I'll discuss, that is idempotent matrices. See, there are many things we must consider, but I'm just trying to give all those kind of matrices which we are going to use in our questions, and in fact which were asked till these dates. There are many other kind of matrices also under discussion which you can which we must have a brush up, but these are like the necessary things which we require for our course. So all those things I'm discussing here. So what kind of matrices are idempotent matrices? Idempotent matrices are nothing but matrices which have what kind of property? MNC. So property is what? A square is equal to A. If you take an A belongs to MNC, and if A square is equal to A, we can say A is actually an idempotent matrix. Okay, so these are some kind of matrices. And regarding some properties of idempotent matrices, if you take an because you can say identity matrix is basically an idempotent matrix, right? If you take I square, you get I. If you take any non-identity idempotent matrix, then one important property is that this matrix, yeah, idempotent matrix, is basically a singular matrix. Okay, so this also is another property you must have in mind. Yet another property of idempotent matrix, that is, if A is idempotent, then if you take A transpose, or if you take A power n, where n belongs to set of natural numbers, or if you take I minus A, all these matrices are actually idempotent matrices. So this is another property in regard with idempotent matrices. Another property regarding idempotent matrices, something like if A and B are two idempotent matrices of same order, like A and B are idempotent with same order, then we can say that A plus B is idempotent. A plus B is idempotent if and only if AB plus BA is equal to 0. It's also some property. It's also some interesting property which we'll come across when you do our problems. And yeah, so with that, I think we can move on to some of the problems from this section now, so which were asked in the previous years from this section. So let us do the problems now. So this is a problem which is actually a previous year problem from IIT JAM. So the matrix M is equal to cos alpha sin alpha, I sin alpha, I cos alpha is a unitary matrix when alpha is, there are given 4 options here. A is 2n plus 1 pi by 2 when n belongs to Z, and B is 3n plus 1 pi by 2 when n belongs to Z. C is 4n plus 1 pi by 4 when n belongs to Z. D is 5n plus 1 pi by 5 where n belongs to Z. So we need to find out what is the answer for alpha. How is the matrix is a unitary matrix? So we know that a matrix is said to be unitary if m into A into A star, or m into M star is equal to M star into M is equal to I. So with this M, I'll try to find out what is my M star. Okay, so we'll do that. So M star means basically M transpose conjugate or M conjugate transpose, doesn't matter. So what you get, if I take the transpose, I get cos alpha I sine alpha, and I cos alpha, right? And if I take the conjugate, that means if I take the conjugate of every entries, so here if I take conjugate I get the same thing, right? Conjugate of cos alpha is again it's a real value, so it will be again same thing. If I take conjugate here, it becomes minus I sine alpha. If I take here conjugate, I get sine alpha. Here if I take here conjugate, I get minus I sine alpha, right? These are complex numbers. I'm taking the conjugate, complex conjugate itself, so I get something like this. So the property is that m in m star will be equal to I. So m is here cos alpha, sine alpha, I sine alpha, I cos alpha. If I multiply with m star, I must get equal to I. That is my property. So I'm just multiplying it and equating to I, the identity matrix I. What do I get here? I get something like cos square alpha plus sine square alpha is 1. Then I get minus I sine alpha cos alpha minus I sine alpha cos alpha. So I get minus 2I sine alpha cos alpha. Then here again what I get? Minus I sine cos alpha, I sine alpha cos alpha plus I cos alpha sine alpha, which is again 2I sine alpha cos alpha, and again I get here, if we multiply you can see you'll get as 1. So this is equal to our 1001. So from this we can if we compare, we can see that, and what is this basically? Sine alpha cos alpha is nothing but sine 2 alpha, right? So this I could have rewritten as minus 2 sine alpha cos alpha. I can replace as what? I can replace as, yeah, so what is that? So this sine 2 sine alpha cos alpha is what? Sine 2 alpha, right? So what I get is, this I can replace as what? This I could have written basically as minus I sine 2 alpha, and this I could have written as I sine 2 alpha, right? So we get that is equal, I sine 2 alpha is equal to 0, or we get sine 2 alpha equal to 0. And if you want sine 2 alpha to be 0, then what is the property of 2 alpha? 2 alpha should be of the form n pi, where n is actually an integer, isn't it? Or you should have alpha should be n pi by 2, where n is actually an integer. N is actually an integer. So what we get is this. Then we can just compare with the options, the correct options. So you can see here n is simply integer. So if it is an odd integer also it will come into that. So you can see here 2n plus 1 pi by 2 is actually a correct option. And here also you can see 3n plus 1 pi by 2. If you substitute n as here, you get many multiples of pi by 2, which are also coming in this case, right? So this is also a correct option. But here we have 4n plus 1 pi by 4 and pi n plus 1 pi by 5. So these are not correct. So the only options here true are A and B. Okay, so we'll go to the next question. So here we have the next question, that is the least positive integer n such that the matrix cos pi by 4 sin pi by 4 minus sin pi by 4 cos pi by 4 whole power n is the identity matrix of order 2 is which one? Is it 4, 8, 12 or 16? So we need to find the value of n for which the least value of n for which this power of this particular matrix, nth power of this matrix becomes an identity matrix, right? So this, if you look at this matrix, you must be familiar with this matrix. Is actually something similar to what we have done just now, that is orthogonal matrix. You know, it's actually an orthogonal matrix, general form of a 2 by 2 orthogonal matrix when theta is given to be, or x is given to be pi by 4. So if I see here, I can rewrite this as what? Power n, I can rewrite as cos n pi by 4 using the De Moivre's formula. I can do that, sin pi by 4 minus sin n pi by 4 and cos n pi by 4. So this is the power of n. We will get something like this, and we want this to be identity matrix. We want this to be identity matrix, right? So you can see here is that cos n pi by 4 has to be 1 and sin n pi by 4 has to be 0. So when do you have cos n pi by 4 is 1 for what values of n? We know that n pi by 4 is 1, or cos x is 1 when this portion, this is actually a multiple of, this n pi by 4 is a multiple of what? Yes, n pi by 4 has to be a multiple of 2 pi, right? So I'll write something like k times 2 pi, where k belongs to z. So from this we'll get the value of 1 to be what? Sorry, n to be what? We can cancel out pi and pi, so you get something like n is actually equal to 8k form, right? And similarly, when you discuss the case when you want sin n pi by 4 to be 0, that means sin x is 0 for what values of x? So of the form n pi, right? X should be of the form n pi. So we get that x is of the form some, instead of n I'll use k, because same variable we used here. So n pi by 4 is equal to k pi, or can cancel out k, where k belongs to z, and I can cancel out here pi pi. I get n is equal to 4k. So our aim is to find out the least positive integer n for which both happens, right? So you can see, and if you want sin n pi to be 0, it has to be the form 4k. But if you want cos n pi to be 0, then sorry, to be 1, definitely it has to be of the multiple 8k. So the least integer, that means we have to take a case when k is 1, 8 is equal to, when you have n is equal to 8, then we have this happening, cos n pi is equal to 1 happening, and that is also coming inside this case, right? So when you take k equal to 1, you get 8 as the least case for which both should happen together, correct? To be more clear, it happens when 0, 4, it happens when 0, n takes value 0, 4, 8, 12, and so on. This happens when 0, 8, 16, the multiples just added and so on, right? So we are asked least positive integer n, so 0 is not the case. So the least case when both things happen together is when you have 8, right? So the correct option in this case is this option, that is option B. Okay, so next question, we'll move on to the next question. Yeah, if you have any queries or any comments regarding these things what I'm doing, and if you want a bit more, like if you feel the explanation is not enough, you should please comment in the comment box down so that I can improve my explanations for you. And if you feel it's okay, please like and share the video also. Okay, so now let's move on to the next question. So in this question you can see we are asked that if A is 3 by 3 real non-diagonal matrix with A inverse is equal to A, then we are asked to find the determinant of A. So it's actually a numerical answer type question. It's also a simple question because you can see if you multiply, we have that for this matrix A inverse is equal to A. If you multiply both sides with A, you get I is equal to A square, and since these are same, we get determinant of I will be equal to determinant of A square, which is equal to determinant of A whole square, and this is equal to what? 1. Determinant of I is 1, so you get determinant of A is equal to plus or minus 1. So that is a very simple question, and in this case you get the answer to be plus or minus 1. Okay, so we'll move to the next question. So all these questions what I'm discussing is actually previous year JAM questions. I'm not discussing any other questions here. All the questions discussed are basically the previous year questions only. So here we have the question, consider the n by n matrix P is equal to, you can see is given 2 by n plus 1, 1 by n plus 1, etc., 1 by n plus 1, 1 by n plus 1, 2 by n plus 1, etc., 1 by n plus 1. You can see the matrix if you take here, here we have basically an n by n matrix, and you can see all diagonal entries are 2 by n plus 1, remaining entries are 1 by n plus 1. And we are given that let I be an n by n identity matrix and J be the n by n matrix whose all entries are 1. We have to take a matrix J with all the entries as 1, n by n matrix. And if you could write P as Ai plus Bj, then we need to find the values of A and B. So we have to find the values of A and B, for which we can write P is equal to Ai plus Bj. Okay. So you can see if I write P in forms of A into I plus B into J, all are n by n matrices. Okay, all are n by n matrices. All are n by n matrices. Okay. So if you can see, I'll get just two equations I'll get here. Right? Just see A times 1 plus B times 1 is equal to 2 by n plus 1. I get something like, first equation I'm getting is A plus B is equal to 2 by n plus 1, right? Now if I take the second entry here, you can see A times 0, that is 0. b times 1. B times 1 is what? 1 by n plus 1. So I get something like b is equal to 1 by n plus 1. So I already got b equal to plus 1. You can see for all these cases, if I get the same equation, b equal to 1 by n plus 1. In the diagonal entries alone, I will get this equation, a plus b is equal to 2 by n plus 1. So from that it's very clear that if b is 1 by n plus 1, you can substitute for a, right? A will be what? 2 by n plus 1. A plus b is this one. So if I substitute, or I can write a as this minus b, this minus b. So b is what? 1 by n plus 1. So what I get? I get again 1 by n plus 1. So answers are like 1 by n plus 1 and 1 by n plus 1. The question looks a bit bigger and but it's a very simple question. So we think first, like sometimes we'll just not attempt the questions like this and we'll leave. So now we'll move on to the next question. We'll see the next question. What is the next question? So the next question here we have is, if M is basically a matrix, it's written actually in form of x, y, z, where we are told that x, y, z are basically column vectors, and then we are asked to make some inference about Q, where Q is defined as x into x transpose plus y into y transpose. We are told like whether this Q is Q symmetric, or is actually a 3 by 3 identity matrix, or it satisfies Q square is equal to Q, or it satisfies QZ equal to Z. Okay. Now to solve this problem, I will take my M to be, suppose I am going to take my M to be the identity matrix. Okay, so you can see x is the column vector 1 1 1 0 0. Here this is my column vector 0 1 0, and this is my column vector 0 0 1. So if I define Q, what is my Q? Q is basically x into x transpose plus y into y transpose, right? What is x into x transpose? If you find, you can see x into x transpose plus y into y transpose. You multiply this, you will get this matrix, and if you multiply here, you get this matrix. If you add, you get this matrix, right? So it is very well clear that if you take this as our M, it is Q is not actually an identity matrix, right? So this option B is wrong, because we got basically a matrix like this. So this is not in general true. So this option B is wrong, and you can see it is also not a skew symmetric matrix, because for skew symmetric matrices, you know that the diagonal entries should be zeros, right? So here you can see we are not getting a skew symmetric matrix also. So it is also not true. Now if you see the last option, option D, Q times Z is equal to Z. So if we take our problem, our Z is 0 0 1, the vector 0 0 1, and this is our matrix Q. So if you multiply Q with Z, do we get Z? Oh, right, because you can see here if I multiply, I get something like this. So definitely QZ is not equal to Z also. So that also the option is also not correct. So the one correct option should be this one, but let us check how we get this. Q square is equal to Q. So if you find Q square, that is Q into Q, that is we get something like x transpose plus y transpose into x transpose plus y transpose. So if you multiply, what you get? X transpose x x transpose plus y transpose x transpose plus x transpose y transpose plus y transpose y transpose. This is what you get, right? So here we have M is an orthogonal matrix, so the columns are basically like mutually orthogonal. That means if you take the dot product between two columns, that is if I take x y transpose, it will basically become 0, or there is something like perpendicular vectors, right? So because of that reason, I can say that y transpose x is 0 and x transpose y also will be 0, because they are x and y are mutually orthogonal columns, and x transpose is basically 1, and y transpose y is actually equal to 1, because you know that for orthogonal matrices the columns or rows are basically orthonormal. That is x transpose will be actually nothing but equal to 1 itself. So what we get here is x into 1 into x, that is x transpose, plus this becomes 0, y transpose x is 0, dot product of these two vectors will be 0, here we will be having 0 again. So we get 0 plus again y transpose, because y transpose y is also equal to 1. So what we get is nothing but x into x transpose plus y into y transpose, nothing but equal to q. So what we get is q square is equal to q. So okay guys, then I think we are almost finished with this lecture, and if you have any queries or any other corrections to anything what I've told, please mention in the comment box. And if you want to have a, like, I would like to have your suggestions so that I can improve the classes for you. And the next class will be discussing rank of a matrix. So I hope you all will be there for the next class. And so those who have not subscribed the channel, I would like you to please subscribe the channel so that you can get the correct updates on time. And please do share the videos if you like them. Maybe it could be useful for others also, because I've tried to include all the previous year questions in this, most of the questions like from this section. And as I already told that the latest year questions is already available in my channel. You can visit my channel to get the latest year questions also. So thank you so much, and see you in the next video.